Hello Sales Nation, I'm Will Barron, host of the Salesman Podcast, and here are 5 tips to up your prospecting game from 5 of the world's leading sales and prospecting experts. Let's jump in.
I tend to go after more senior people, hierarchically, not in any other way, but so they tend to get to the office a little bit early. I know when I was on the other side of the table in corporate America, I was at the office by 7:30 thinking I've got a window of, quietness for an hour, where, as you say, I'm not getting those things and so on. So if I can call at that time of the day and the person answers the phone because it's still quiet, they know it's not going to be one of their salespeople because they get to the office at 9, so it's not going to be before that. So there's a greater likelihood that they'll answer the phone. In fact, bringing it back to voicemail, as we should, one of the techniques that I think people should do once they adopt my voicemail technique, which I learned a long time ago, is, let's say I know I'm going to be in the office this morning, right? Or let's say tomorrow morning. Then what I might do is really late at night, meaning about 7:30, leave 15 voicemails for different people. And as we get through the voicemail technique, which I'm sure we'll touch on, my voicemails are roughly about 15 seconds. So leaving 15 voicemails, you could do that in a commercial break in your favorite, hockey game or football game in your case. So you could do it in a relatively easy period. The idea is that because you're coming in late in the day, they probably cleared their voicemail when they left. So when you come in the morning, you're going to be one of the first messages. And if that message tickles something in the back of their mind, they'll call you back.
Once you have what I consider the basics, like title, company size, industry, and like I said, even those are a little bit variable time to time. Once you have that, you can build a list of 200 to 400 contacts or leads. And then once you've done your research, you can create your email campaign. I recommend 8 touches. You can write multiple variants if you want to test different things. But one of the cool things about cold email is it's so honest, because these aren't intros, these aren't referrals, these aren't customers. So people are completely honest. They either like you or they don't. They either respond positively or negatively, or they don't. And so with that in mind, what you can do is, when you look at the results, you don't just want to look at hey, which email templates perform best, which have the best response rate, whatever. You also want to look at who responded and who responded to what. And sometimes you will see a cluster around a certain message. And so maybe email 3A is this winning email, this sequence that got the most response rates by far. But email 5B got all the people from Idaho to respond, or, whatever industry or whatever thing. So you kind of want to look back and forth and reverse engineer the people who responded too. And especially as salespeople, after you get the response, you're talking to them on the phone. You get to follow them throughout the sales journey, and you get to understand why they responded, who they are. And so you have a luxury that marketing rarely has, because you get additional level and layer of feedback that at best they can see usually oh, did you download a white paper? Did they attend a webinar? You get to talk to them. And so as you're doing that, you're kind of almost like a scientist or an anthropologist, where you're thinking, okay, oh, all these people, I'm noticing a trend here. What can I triple down on? If I target people with the same exact criteria, can I do a campaign that just focuses on this value prop that we got really great results on? And instead of making email 5, I'm making it email 1. And so that's where our email campaigns tend to get 3 to 10 times better positive response rate than what people are already doing. But once you start to really dive deeper into things like that, you get even bigger lift, because not only are you improving response rate, you're finding a whole niche to triple down on. And that's when you can really have even more success.
There is a full structure. Is the first and foremost is we get them on the phone, right? And it's not, see, here's what I have to tell you. It's not always about what you're saying or how you're saying it. It's about your tonality. It's about asking the right questions. In what my philosophy is, you'll see a lot of salespeople, they talk. Well, I have seen numerous amount of salespeople talk their way out of the close. Even after they got the close and the customer says yes, I've seen them talk themselves out of the close. It's mind-boggling. So what I do is it's very different, my methodology. It's very different. A, I don't act interested. I use a very low tone. Why me? Why do you think I'm the one that's going to help you? So the process is, first, we qualify them. So right now, for example, I'm selling a $20,000 4-day event. First question I ask is, are you able to travel? Right? Because a lot of prospects, they lie on the application. Are you willing and are you able to travel? Okay, good. And are you willing to travel on these dates? So before we move forward, there's nothing I need to know about that you're not going to be able to make a commitment today. No. Okay. Then we go into the lead, what we call not the lead, more of the understanding of why they're on the phone. So why did you take the time out of your day? What's going on in your life that is so important that you want to speak to me now? Because we know that there's tons of people out there selling whatever they're selling. Why me? Right? Here's what's happening there. They're already selling themselves on you, on why the product works. You don't have to sell the feature or the benefits. They sell that, right? It makes sense? I'm going to go really deep here. I'm going to give you something. I ask 2 to 3 questions, and I know right away where they are on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning they're not going to buy, they're fence sitting, or 10, they're going to buy, it's high probability. If they're anywhere between a 1 to a 5, I use reverse psychology. So I say things like, well, it seems like you're doing good already, or you're doing well. What's the matter with that? I'm sure things are going to get better. I'm sure word of mouth works for you. Why is this so urgent? Things are going smooth. Oh, wow. You made $3,000 last month. That's pretty good, no? Then you get them opening up. Because if a customer is closed, if they're restricted, you'll never be able to open them up. And if you can't open the customer up, you'll never be able to make a sale.
Let's just say you've made a list of people you want to contact. You've got emails ready to go and whatnot. I think a lot of, well, at least what I've seen, a lot of people just kind of, I'm going to do a spray and pray, or I'm going to massively email thousands of people. Well, I urge people, one, to simply like scrub through that email list with an intern, yourself, whatever, and just see, who do you know? Like, who do you actually have a connection with? Engage with them on social media. So like the first and foremost thing is like, it's only a cold email if this is your first contact, or if this is their first time seeing you. So by simply, viewing their profile on LinkedIn, or even following them on social, or engaging with whatever they have as far as assets, whether it's like again, LinkedIn posts, you can comment, a blog post, even better, but just get on their radar somehow. And do that before you reach out. So now it's not necessarily as cold of an email. But the other thing is like looking at kind of what makes them tick, or what's something you can provide them as value. So that's really hard to do on a large scale. So I like to bucket into things like couple categories. So let's say I'm reaching out to a bunch of CEOs. Well, one, maybe I categorize it based off the size of the company they manage, maybe the industry they manage. And that will determine maybe the article I send them or the angle I approach. So again, just making it a little bit more specific to that person it is going to be very, very powerful.
And today you got to be better than ever. Like you don't have the luxury of that you did in years past, right? Now the consumer is much more educated. Now the resources that they have available to them are far more expansive and far greater. The salesperson, the amateur salesperson, is becoming less valuable. The salesperson that cannot produce, that cannot cold call, that cannot fill a pipeline, that cannot close deals, that cannot follow up, the amateur salesperson that cannot do those things is becoming obsolete. They will go away. The only people that will be left remaining in a digital age where larger and larger transactions are taking place without a salesperson involved, the whole deal's changing. The only person left standing at the end of the game is the pro. As the pie gets smaller, who gets fed? The hungriest, the fastest, the most skilled. So role playing isn't the best way. It's the only way if you want to make big money.